Somewhere in the last few years, a new word crawled out of the internet and into the dictionary: brain rot. In 2024, Oxford named it their word of the year. Usage jumped 230% in 12 months. You already know the feeling it describes. You pick up your phone to check one thing. 45 minutes later, you surface. Thumbs sore, eyes glazed, remembering none of it. You didn't choose to lose that time. It was taken. So people started calling it brain rot, the slow softening of your mind from an endless diet of content that asks nothing of you. Here's the strange part. The phrase isn't new. A man named Henry David Thoreau wrote it in 1854, complaining that society preferred easy ideas over hard ones. Brain rot, he called it. He just didn't have a phone that fit in his pocket and knew exactly what he couldn't look away from. So here's the real question. Is brain rot an actual thing your brain does? Or is it just a meme, a funny word for feeling a little dumber than you used to? The honest answer sits in between. Your brain is not literally rotting. Nothing is dying in there. But something measurable is happening. And once you see the research, you can't unsee it. Let's walk through what scientists have actually found. Then, the part nobody tells you, what to do about it. Start with the machine that runs the whole show, your reward system. Deep in your brain sits a circuit that releases dopamine, the chemical of do that again. For most of history, it fired for things that took effort. Finding food, staying safe, being wanted by other people. Short-form video hijacks that circuit directly. Brain imaging studies show that a personalized feed of short videos lights up the mesolimbic dopamine system, the same reward pathway involved in addiction, and it triggers it faster and far more often than almost anything in the natural world. Every swipe is a tiny gamble. Maybe the next clip is incredible. Maybe it's nothing. That unpredictability, a reward you can't predict, is the exact mechanism that makes slot machines impossible to put down. Psychologists call it a variable reward. Your brain finds it irresistible. Now do that a few thousand times a day. Your brain, being efficient, adapts. Here's the twist most people miss. Dopamine has an opposite. Every spike of pleasure is followed by a small dip below the line, a tiny come down, so your brain can stay balanced. Chase spike after spike after spike, and your brain fights back by turning the dopamine down. It removes receptors. It resets your baseline lower, which means the same feed that used to thrill you now barely registers. And worse, regular life, the slow stuff, a book, a walk, a conversation, starts to feel flat and gray. Not because those things changed, because your baseline did. Scientists have a nickname for the whole pattern: TikTok brain. Impulsivity, a hunger for novelty, and a shrinking tolerance for anything that doesn't pay off in the first 3 seconds. And this isn't just a vibe. It shows up in the data, hard. One review pulling together nearly 100,000 people found that heavier short video users scored lower on 3 specific things: attention, inhibitory control, your ability to feel an impulse and not act on it, and working memory, the mental workbench where you hold ideas long enough to actually think. Those 3 are not random. They are the exact tools you need to read, to study, to solve a hard problem, to sit with a difficult feeling instead of swiping it away. On brain scans, heavy users show weaker activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part that's supposed to be the adult in the room, the one who says, "Not now, finish this first." There's a number that captures it. Researchers who track how long people stay focused on a single screen found that the average has collapsed from 2.5 minutes 20 years ago to about 47 seconds today. 47 seconds. Then the pull to switch wins. So the first thing brain rot does is real. It trains your brain to crave the quick hit and to struggle with the slow climb. Now, your memory. In 2011, a psychologist named Betsy Sparrow ran a beautifully simple experiment at Columbia. She had people type facts into a computer. Half were told the computer would save what they typed. Half were told it would be erased. The people who believed the fact was safely saved forgot it. Their brains made a quiet, sensible decision. Why hold on to this? I can just look it up. She called it the Google effect. We've stopped storing information. Instead, we store the location of the information. Which folder, which app, which search. Your phone has quietly become an external hard drive for your mind. And that sounds efficient until you notice the catch. Deep thinking requires having things inside your head to think with. You can't connect 2 ideas you never actually kept. Creativity is mostly old things colliding in new ways, and there's nothing to collide if it all lives on a server. Then there's the physical structure of the brain itself. Researchers at the University of Sussex scanned people who constantly juggle media, texting while watching while scrolling, 3 streams at once. The heaviest multitaskers had less gray matter in a region called the anterior cingulate cortex, a hub for focus and emotional control. But here's where I have to be honest with you, because this is where most videos lie. That last study shows a link, not proof. It cannot yet tell us whether the scrolling shrank the gray matter or whether people who started with less were simply more drawn to scrolling. Correlation is not cause. And notice, even Oxford's own definition calls it the supposed deterioration. The scientists are careful here on purpose. So let's be precise. Your brain is not rotting. Neurons are not dying. This is not a disease, and anyone selling you a cure is selling you something. What's actually happening is quieter, and honestly, stranger. Your brain is doing the one thing it evolved to do better than any machine ever built. It adapts to whatever you feed it. Feed it 10-second dopamine hits all day, and it becomes exceptionally good at wanting 10-second dopamine hits, and a little worse at everything else. You are not rotting. You are being trained. And that single word, trained, is either the most terrifying line in this video or the most hopeful, because here's the beautiful thing about a brain that adapts to what you feed it. It runs in both directions. The exact same plasticity that let the feed reshape your attention can reshape it back. You did not lose the ability to focus. That circuit is still in there, fully intact. It's just out of practice, and drowned out by something louder and faster. So the fix is not a detox weekend, and it's not throwing your phone into a lake. It's slower than that. It's a little boring, and it actually works. First, put the friction back. The feed is frictionless by design. Infinite scroll, autoplay, no natural stopping point, because a stopping point is where you might leave. So build your own stops. Log out after each use. Delete the app off your home screen, so opening it takes 6 deliberate seconds instead of 0. Make the easy thing slightly harder and the hard thing slightly easier. You will not win this on willpower. You win it on design. Second, relearn how to be bored. That itch you feel in a quiet moment. Standing in line, riding an elevator, waiting for a friend who's late. That is not an emergency to be solved with your phone. That is your attention, a muscle that hasn't been used in a while, asking for a rep. So give it one. Stand there and do nothing. Let your mind wander with nowhere to go. It will feel genuinely uncomfortable for about a week, and then it starts to feel like a superpower, because boredom is where your brain finally has room to think, to plan, to have the idea it's been too distracted to finish. Third, feed it something slow, on purpose. Read a long article to the end. Watch an entire film without a second screen glowing in your other hand. Have a conversation that meanders and goes nowhere useful. These are not just nice hobbies. They are reps. Every single time you hold your attention on one thing past the exact moment you want to switch, you are physically rebuilding the circuit the feed was quietly wearing down. Brain rot is real, but real in the way a habit is real. It's not damage. It's a groove, worn deep by thousands of repetitions. And a groove can be recarved. So the next time you feel your thumb drifting toward the feed before you've even decided to pause, just for a second, that pause is the entire game, because your brain is always listening to what you do next. It is being shaped right now by this exact moment. So make this moment something worth remembering.